Tosh, when you go to parties, do you really pay attention to the decor and the details? Because sometimes I see that it flies over. I have girlfriends that it just flies over their head. And then I have, especially one girlfriend in particular, like that notices everything down to the what's written on the, the perimeter of the napkin. She'll see everything. And it means something to her.
I associate every single detail with a reflection of what is in that person's heart. So here's an example. Like I sometimes will attend a party that is like, you can tell a lot of money went into this event of entertaining. And I always look at it as like, this person wants us to know that they can do this well. It's a reflection of them. That all the little details that went into, when you enter, what to do, where to go, grab a drink, grab a snack. And then on your way out of, take this with you. And all of those little details, I notice so much of things that were, store-bought or things that were homemade. But then you take the complete opposite of that. And I've attended parties where, there's paper plates and there's paper cutlery, whatever it is. And there's a big old taco salad in the middle and, some chips and dip, but yet they put out little like Mexican napkins or something. And I'm like, you know what? This is a reflection of them. Like they wanted to do that little detail. So as simple as it is, or as extravagant as it can be, I think that I always read into somebody took the time to go shop for that and think about that. They wanted me to notice that.
Oh, so you really focus on the sentiment behind the details for sure.
Not only the sentiment, but the person behind
the sentiment. Yeah.
1,000%. How about you?
Definitely. Everything you said, you couldn't have said it better. And then also too, I get really super impressed with, because creativity, you don't have to have a lot of money to be creative necessarily at all. And I get very impressed, especially with people that have not a lot of money and what they can do with something so simply. And to me, because that, again, that's about the person too. And I look around and I'm like, oh, that was so smart. Look at that. Look at the way they did this over here. Look how they did that over there. I remember years ago, I went to a friend's baby shower and she had little tiny like clothespins and she had little strings, which has been done a lot now. But back then it was like, I swear, if she invented this, it was probably her. And I saw how she just hung everyone's seating, where everybody was sitting, the seating arrangements. And to me, it was just, she cut out like a picture of, it was like baby carriages, I think, that she had a handmade and cut out and hung on each clothespin. And just like all the time that she took to put into that.
And you knew that she created this. She made it. She made Amazon it.
That's right. And everybody was so impressed by her and by how creative she was. So yeah, I absolutely look at things like that. Details mean everything to me. Anyone that would come into my home could see from the smallest thing, like even where I have a little cubby where my kids put their shoes that it took me 3 weeks to find on Amazon.
It had to fit the right little nook.
Yes, exactly. It had to fit it perfectly. So to me, this means a lot, for sure.
Yeah.
Natasha knows. Remember I sent you a picture once of something in my house that was irrelevant and you noticed, I don't know if for everyone listening, when you are organizing your shoes in your closet, you can get that thing that hangs on the back of the door where it's like pockets where you could put your shoes in the pockets.
Oh, you have this for snacks.
And I have this for snacks. And it looks so cute. And Natasha was like, what the hell is that shit behind you?
It's like her kids go shopping every morning. Like, do I want a cherry fruit roll up, a blueberry fruit roll up? I'm feeling a chip.
Yeah.
Do you know? Literally, like a store hanging up on the back of her pantry door.
And the little thrill I got when I did that, I was like, this is not for them. This is for me.
I know,
right? Because it looks good. But yeah,
it's so true. There's just so many different events that like you can attend and be blown away by, or things that you, like you said, sometimes you go through the motions of things. But details take time. Creativity, it takes time. It doesn't just happen. It doesn't just things don't just get made. So, there's always people out there that are creative that have made a business of this to do it for you. In that case, you can bring somebody on board to help you. I know a lot of event planners, they get creative with tablescapes and the colors and what's going on with lighting and the feeling of the day. But past planners, apparently there's a whole world out there of taking it up a notch and really cranking it into like a world-class
Something
event.
tremendous.
Yeah. So,
and that's what we are going to talk about today.
we are so happy. We have Jessie Lekoch and Tebby with us today. She is an event designer and she does huge productions of events, all sorts of things from weddings to mitzvahs to even proposals and engagements. They are stunning.
Jaw-droppingly gorgeous.
And you should check her out, and we'll give you her information on her website later on.
I just have to say, between like the last few days of looking at your work, it's just so stunningly beautiful and none the same, like you kind of do new things constantly. Is that your goal? Or is that just like a natural skill for you that you can go into a space and, have a vision? And is there often this underlying theme or common denominator in your work that kind of carries through with each project that you do? Or is it always uniquely yours,
So I guess that is something that I always try to do. I like to innovate in every party and always come up with something different and something new. And I think the reason that it always does look so unique and different is because I really try to listen to my clients, understand who they are, what their vision is, what is their style, and what is uniquely them. And that's why all of my events look a little bit different. But the one underlining theme that you can see throughout everything is our attention to detail. Everything is meticulously thought out, curated. While it's very layered, it's not over-designed. It's not overdone. So that's kind of our style. Whether we're doing something traditional, rustic, glam, it's always edited beautifully and nothing ever looks too much.
I think it's all in the details that really makes a difference for someone's experience. I even know when I have a dinner party or if I attend a dinner party at someone's home, it's the tiny little details that they put into things that blow me away. Less so of the food, unless the food has like a special quality to it that's so unique. So I very much appreciate what you do. And Jeannie's right, your website is phenomenal. I'd love to get to know you better though, Jessie. We were reading through your blog and reading through your website and everything, and it says you grew up in a large family. Was there one particular person that was like your inspiration that like infiltrated this love for these huge ideas and artistic love for design?
So I would say all of the women in my family have contributed to that, and my father. So we are Jewish, which means every Friday night there was always a big Shabbat dinner and with beautiful china and beautiful crystal and always, a different menu and a different way to present. So there was always that. And my mother has the most exquisite taste. So since I was young, we would travel and she would take me to go see China or to the Decorative Art Museum, or my dad would show me the architectural details of a building. And it was just always very, they were very into design and art always. And they imparted that to me.
That's beautiful. It's amazing the things that children are so perceptive, right? It's amazing what gets imprinted in our brains at such a young age. I remember too, we still of Irish and Italian descent. So I remember we had all of our fine china. When I got married, it was handed down to me. And my mother and grandmother never set a table. You would never find a paper plate in my house. It was like a disgrace. Yeah. And so you're saying that was sort of the beginning of your journey to start to design.
Yeah.
Seeing all these things.
And I would really say I love shopping. So I always I always make fun of me. Like my specialty, all I do is shop. I love to look for products and yeah, I've curated a very good eye for things.
Yeah, for sure. How many brothers and sisters do you have?
I have 3 brothers and a sister.
And you're a mom. How old are your kids?
Yeah. So I have 3 kids. They're 10, 12, and 14. Yeah.
So are you noticing that they've caught the bug?
My son actually really, really likes to entertain. So he'll have all his friends over for Super Bowl or to come watch the game. And he's always like making plans with people and hosting. So I see that a little bit with him. My daughter, she loves to take pictures and to find beautiful things. And then my son is just super, super creative. The little one, he builds all these incredible worlds on the metaverse and does roller coaster parks. So they're all a little bit creative.
So they've found their own niche, like, you know, they've gone in their own path, but the details is what we were going back to with what you do. So I would love to know how this process works, because we see the final product on your website, but you know, how does this happen from, you know, a client reaches out to you and they describe their event, whether it's a wedding or a mitzvah or a huge, you know, 50th birthday party, whatever that is. Could you walk us through the process?
So my initial call will be, about getting the logistics. What are they looking to do? What are the bones of the event? What are our parameters? Like, what am I designing to? So that's just very basic. And then from there, I love to get together with them, either at their desired venue if they already have it, or just over a drink or a coffee to just brainstorm and get to know who they are. So that for me is very important. And based on that, um, I ask questions about where they love to go or what their favorite meal is, or if there's a hotel lobby that they like, or a dress that they think the patterns are really cool, or just, to show me images of anything that inspires them and that they like. So that's how I really just start. And then once we have the venue defined, or once we have that like little seed of imagination planted, then I'll start going, in my shopping and going through different colors and ideas, inspirations and pieces. And I'll start putting together a mood board for each element of the party, whether it's the cocktail or the dinner or the entertainment or just any fun details that will happen. And then from there, we share that with them. It's a back and forth conversation visually. And then we go back and actually start designing. What is it going to be? How are we going to do it? What does it cost? And then we build out the proposal. Share that with the client. We then put together a sample and they come and see the entire thing set up. And then once they love that, we go and produce it.
When you say that you do a sample, this is like a live sample or a model or a CGI type of thing?
Well, it's actually both. I forgot to mention that. In our storyboards, we'll do a 3D rendering where you can really see the space. But then we'll set up the tables, a piece of their ceiling treatment, a piece of the dance floor, whatever it is that we're making. And they'll actually physically come into our studio and see the whole thing set up. And then we'll make the final choices. Like if I thought a charger might look nice with a certain glass and the flowers, we might want to change it a little bit when we see it all together. And, that's how we really create unique things.
Now, when you say we, how large is your team?
So I have 10 people full-time, and then we have so many frienders that kind of live here and a lot of freelancers that come and help us on site when we're producing events.
Great.
But I say we a lot because we are like such a team.
No, I get that. I get that sense from you. That's a great energy. Yeah. I love that. And when you have somebody come on board, you must be pretty meticulous in what you're looking for because, do you ask them, how do you bring somebody on board with you?
I think our most successful onboarding is people who freelance with us. Mm-hmm. We see how they work. We see how their energy is, how they collaborate with our team. And that's usually how I bring on the right people. So it's really that. It's like it's like we met you, we like you, come work with us. Yeah, and then if we really like you, we'll extend the job offer.
Okay. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Very natural. So how is it when you work with a venue? Because a lot of times venues are already decked out on their own. Like I saw some of your work at Faena in Miami or any particular wedding venue. They already have, like a lot of clients choose the venue because of the aesthetic or because of the experience that the venue lends. So how would you describe you building on top of that?
So I never fight with the space. I like to take what I already have and enhance it. Mm-hmm. I don't love traditional ballrooms because unless someone wants to fully set design from the floor to the ceiling to the walls, you're in a ballroom, no matter what I put in that space. If I'm in a beautiful space, a beautiful room, and I now am working on enhancing that, it's already beautiful, and I just enhance it. So I really like to work with the architecture. I like to just make it all feel really nicely. Another thing I really do well is when I look at a space, I don't usually lay it out in the same way that other people would. I like to come up with creative ways of laying out spaces so it feels a little bit different.
Oh, very interesting, because rather than have the typical layout that everybody's expecting, you think outside of the box. You kind of recreate the space to accommodate, the aesthetic of what's going on.
Do you ever run into issues with vendors about what you can do and what you can't do? And does that ever happen to you before? I'm just curious.
I mean, when I hear no, I just hear not for now.
Yeah. That's the best.
I don't expect a no.
Right. It's just not right now.
When they say it's so difficult, I'm like, yeah, but we'll figure it out.
Right.
And then they do.
Right. That's the best.
Do you mind mentioning a couple of these themes that you've done? Could you describe one or two events and what it was like, detail by detail? And then if there's a particular event or design that you're dreaming to do, you just haven't found the right client, what that would be as well.
So I'll talk about one of my favorites that I did last year, which was my daughter and niece's bat mitzvah, because I got to do whatever I want. So they love performance in theater, and we did it at the Faina in the theater, and we basically produced an entire show. Like, we had 6 different acts, and we had, the dressing room before where all the kids went and got decked out, and then they went to sit in their seats. And the details were that we had tickets with their branding on it. We had playbills. And within the playbills, I did headshots of the girls and all the other performers. And I don't know, it was just, and we even made like ads in them. Like, I got very detailed on those. And the performance was just super cool. We had lighting and videos made. And the last performance was the party. So what I loved about it is that it was a theater theme. So rather than just, putting playbill on a centerpiece in a ballroom, we actually transformed the theater into this live set for the girls. And it was just really, really cool. And a theme I really want to do is not so much a theme, but a destination. I'm dying to do a wedding in Italy, and it has not happened yet.
That was going to be one of my questions. Where have you not been that you really want to go? Right? Italy, I mean, it's so romantic.
Yes.
And a particular place in Italy?
Well, I was a little girl once, and I went to Villa d'Este in Lake Como, and I always remember thinking, like, this is where my wedding's going to be. I had 600 guests at my wedding, so it could not be there. It had to be kind of local. But that's somewhere that I would really love to produce someone else's.
I get you. No, I mean, I just got the chills thinking about that place.
Oh, completely. Have you seen White Lotus?
I have, yes. I binge watched it.
It's just, I know, we binge watched it too. I wanted to just teleport there immediately.
Forget about life for a while.
I'm going to be in Sicily for Engage in April.
Oh, now will you go there? Taormina, right?
Yeah, I think it's there. I'm not exactly sure where the Belmont is, but it's, a little island.
I love it. Now, what kind of design requests come up a lot that you hear? Things that are repeats, or do you have a particular favorite that you're like, okay, cool, it's in the can?
I always hear I want something different, never seen before.
Okay, yep. Hence why they're coming to you and your team.
Yeah. But that's usually it. And my request is to just make things that are beautiful and not to block the vision on the table. I always hear that one. People love to have an amazing ceremony. So that's a big request. Come up with something beautiful for me for that. I guess that's it.
And I would imagine with you, the answer is probably no, because your work just totally speaks for itself, where somebody's just going to hire you and just close their eyes and then open them on the day of their wedding. But do you ever run into clients that try to like kind of overpower a little bit, or like give too much input? And how do you handle that? I know you're smiling because I don't know if that happens. It's a common thing, and it's not that they. I think sometimes people have a hard time relinquishing some control, especially when they have something in their head. But then again, there is a reason why they hired you. So how do you navigate through that?
So I always get that.
Ooh,
It's
juicy. I didn't think you did, but okay, go ahead.
because I'm like very soft and I like to listen. I can sometimes seem like I'm not so authoritative and saying like you have to do it this way. So sometimes I guess people try to like take control of the process. So what I've done is in our initial meeting, we'll give them a checklist and a timeline, and these are your design phases. And I find that by over communicating that, when we do that, the process flows really well, and they understand that we're working on it together. Sometimes what I have to do is just at the end of the day say, okay, we're going to try it that way. And I kind of put my little tweak on it and I just make it my way, and then they're happy at the end. But usually people do trust that whatever we're presenting and doing, it's going to be beautiful and amazing and beyond their expectations.
I saw this proposal on your website. It looks like it was it in Eleuthera, Bahamas? It looked.
Oh yeah, in
Exuma. Oh my goodness. It was from above it, an aerial perspective, and all you see is this completely deserted beach with a strip of sand, white powdery sand, going through the most beautiful water on either side of the sand, and it just says, "Marry me." And even this, I mean, something that is such a blink of an eye, like a proposal, the amount of planning and visuals that went into this one moment. And it's so important because this is setting up these two people. This is setting up their whole lives together. So to have that moment be so meaningful is that I was blown away when I saw that.
Thanks. No, and it looks so simple, but it was finding a sandbar, going the day before to see how the tides hit so we can get that perfect shot. It was creating a fake model call and booking her for a job and having her go on a seaplane and hitting it in the right moment and having an assistant actually be an undercover videographer to get the video of her reaction. And it's a lot that goes into planning just that little moment, but it was amazing.
I mean, yes. And as she was, I have to be honest, as I'm looking at all these images, I'm like, how much does this cost? Because this is insane. Like, and I know everything is different, but brides need to know. I'm sure they're curious because everybody's going to want you because your work is amazing. So how does price vary with things that you do? How do you break down price? Do you have packages? Do you have, I guess it would be not easy to have exact packages because the projects are all different, but yeah, how do you kind of, how do you go through that? How do you relay that information to brides?
So we do charge a design fee to engage us in the design process, but people want to make sure that we are still going to be within their budget range. So we'll send an estimated budget based on that initial conversation, and it'll be a range of costs. Because we really don't know until we're more into the process. But I would say our decor typically starts around $150,000 for the decor. And it can go up from there. Not to say we don't take things that are less. We do if it makes sense, but that's typically our minimum. And we relay that right away because we don't want to waste anyone's
full transparency. Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. I think anyone in the design process goes through this. You know, somebody has a vision, but that vision costs money. There's so many different details that you don't consider. Even when it comes to a home, there's contractors involved and permits and architects. And, you know, just because you have a designer, there's everything outside of
all the details,
the idea.
Yeah.
To make it.
And speaking of details, I read somewhere, like, you add to what other vendors do too. I call it like the small things that become the big things. Can you give me an example of that? Something that you would just kind of just, oops, there we go. Like, let me just add this to the flower. Like in some little, little tidbits that you drop.
I don't know. I would say like, we were doing a dinner party and the chef wanted a creative menu. So it was a Mexican themed dinner. And I was like, oh my God, we need to make piñata menus. So I found these like little piñatas, and then I made like these little strips that you can pull out of it with each course. And the chef, like, it was the most impeccably set table. It was gorgeous. All she could look at was my little piñata menu. And that was like the coolest thing.
Sometimes that happens. It's the irony of it, right?
That's so great. Creative. Your mind is, you're an artist. You really are.
Sometimes.
And you're a mom. So how do you manage all of this? You have a company, you have 10 full-time employees. you take on these huge projects. How do you manage this with having 3 kids?
Oh God, yeah.
We're
I'm
moms
like,
too, so this is a daily
I'm like,
conversation.
let me just feel bad about myself right now. Go ahead.
So I think it's really hard, but I'll say there's 2 important factors to this. One is understanding that balance is never going to happen on a daily basis, but you could balance your year. So for me, that means that I'll take an amazing 10-day trip with my kids and really not pay attention to work, but then I'm not going to see the kids for 2 weeks because we're that busy. But I know that we had that quality time together and that it was amazing, and I'm feeling great about it. So that's like a big key, is balancing the year. And people, I have the most amazing people around me. I have an amazing right hand, which is sitting right next to me, Jennifer. She won't even leave me for the podcast. and the team is wonderful. And then at home, my husband is so supportive, and he's such a great dad and really helps a lot. And he works full time too, of course. I have an amazing, family that helps me sometimes with the kids. I have great friends that help me with carpools, and I have a really wonderful nanny that drives, which is super key with all the after school activities. So without that, I couldn't do it, and I don't sleep too much. So
Well,
you never sleep. When I was first pregnant, my mom's like, I mean, you're never gonna sleep again. So she was the only one that was honest with me. Everyone else told me congratulations.
That's right. Take a good night's rest, Jeannie, because it's your last.
Oh my goodness. I have to say, I liked your core values.
Thanks.
They were so cute. Can we just read them?
And
Sure,
we
go
there's
ahead.
one particular one that we want to discuss as well.
Well, okay. It says lead from your heart, which I can absolutely tell that you do. Follow your passion. Check. What's don't beige it?
Sometimes I'm tired, or I'm overwhelmed, or I'm I just cannot think of one more idea, and I'm not gonna settle for something easy. I will push myself to make sure it's right and not just easy. So that's a don't beige it. I don't want a beige room. We want a colorful
Got
room.
it. I love that. How cute is that? That's very literal, but also a figurative kind of a statement. You take that with you in your life. Act with integrity. Give
Always.
back. Be the duck. What's that?
So that one is when things are chaotic or something crazy has happened on a setup, or you're just super nervous, calm, cool, and collected. Even if under the surface you're wiggling your feet like a duck.
Oh, God, how cute.
It's funny. One of the planners that we had when we just started our podcast, her company is called Smiling Through Chaos. And for that exact reason, because it's chaotic. You can practice, you can rehearse, you can do the seaplane, you can do the tide and the hired model to pretend. But then suddenly the storm changes. There's a storm that comes through, or whatever it is, and you have to improvise and stay calm, because everybody's looking to you to be the leader and keep everybody under, it's going to be okay.
Calmness is a superpower for sure that not everybody has. Your last core value, have fun, which is so necessary in life and with your work.
Yes.
I just think that if you remove the fun out of what you're doing, everything will collapse. So I love them. I just think they're so cute.
I have to say that what I'm getting from you is actually missing from your core values, and that is you have such a grateful, humble attitude, like the way you've complimented your team and acknowledged everybody that helps support your life. I feel you need to add another one.
Be humble.
of just your gratitude. It's emanating off of we can see you, but it's emanating off of the screen and with what you're conveying.
Yeah.
So it's really nice. So traveling, you obviously will travel anywhere, right? As long as it's safe, you're not going to the middle of a war zone. But this is just
if they need a wedding in the middle of a war zone, I'm there.
Yeah, that's got to be a cool part of your job, is you plan it, you do everything from home, but then you actually have to get there well in advance of the actual event so that you can do those little things that you said, rehearse it, set it
Yeah.
up, see how it's going to flow, because you get one shot at this. You can't do it over.
Yeah. So I love destination events. It's actually my favorite thing to do. So obviously, during COVID when there was no travel, it's a little bit hard, but I like to travel to a new place, get to know the people there. Everybody works a little bit differently. They have different products, they have different venues. So everything, I'm like a kid in a candy store. Everything's shiny and new and exciting and fun. And I love it. And I love to travel. So that is a guilt-free way to travel without feeling bad that you left your kids at
Right,
home.
right. I was thinking that as you were saying it. And the bride and the groom, do they put you up in a space typically if you're traveling? Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll always go before, and we'll usually take a trip with the couple and with their
Mhm.
family. We're working with a bigger team. We'll do site visits. We'll look at different venues, meet different people. I'll put together a team on site wherever it is that we're going, and I love to figure out what is their strength, what are they amazing at here, and let me play to that. And anything that I need to complement it, I'll bring from Miami or from anywhere else. So
I feel like
yeah.
part of your process is, I mean, I guess within such a detailed process, you probably become pretty tight with the bride and groom, right? Because you're mentioning traveling with that. I can't see how you wouldn't. It's such a you foster such a close relationship because you have to get to know them in order to execute their vision. You have to get to know them on a personal level. So that's I feel like that's a really cool part of what you do as well.
Yeah, it is. And it's funny because it gets to a point that you're talking to them daily,
Right.
constant.
They're like
And then
besties by the time it's over.
What's
Yeah,
a
I'm like,
typical
"Where are you
lead-in?
guys?"
Like when somebody reaches out initially to when the event happens, what's your typical turnaround time for an event? Is it like at least a year in advance, sometimes 2?
Oh, good question.
I wish. That's a great question. But lately, it's been like 4 to 6 months.
Oh
to do a
boy.
whole thing.
So you have your running shoes on.
God. What's like the?
During-
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We did weddings in a month.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Yes. No one would pull the trigger, and it was like getting it done. It was a lot.
Even during COVID times.
Yes, because no one wanted to set their date or plan until they were very close to
Mhm.
it. So that like we would get a call in December for a wedding in January.
You're right.
And
We
it's
went through a lot of
Yeah,
that
we
too.
did that too.
It was
we
like,
did.
my wedding's on Monday. Are you
Oh my
guys
God.
available? So-
Let's do it. Do you have and you work directly with the brides themselves, right? Like, do they ever have? Do you have a partner, or is it's directly with you and your team, basically?
So we like to work, and we typically work with a planner. So the planner is doing all the logistics and the day-to-day stuff with the couple and organizing everything. And then we're very involved on all of everything decor and production for their weddings. And we typically work with the couple and usually the parents. So we're doing a lot of back and forth with the parents more so than the couple.
Sure. They're
But
the check writer.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and they're seasoned entertainers. Usually, the couple's busy, they're working, they have their careers going, and it's
They
just
can't
in our-
can't invest that time every day because they're working. So yeah, same with us. We talk to a lot of parents. It's hard today, to be available like that constantly.
That's
for
right.
sure.
Yeah.
So what's next for you in 2023? Like what are the future plans for J Group?
So we actually rebranded, and the new name is Jessie and Co Creative.
Oh.
So that was a big, yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. So yeah, we can do a little thing in the beginning to correct that. So it's Jessie and Co Creative.
Yes.
Okay.
So big things for us this year. We just moved to a very large new warehouse, so we need to get that up and running. And
Are you going to decorate it?
Yes. So right now we just moved in. There's beige walls that are driving me crazy.
They're beige. You're going to get on that ASAP.
Exactly.
What happens with all the stuff when an event is done?
Oh.
You have to come visit my warehouse.
Oh.
So a lot of times, if it's flowers that weren't cut too short or out too long, we'll donate them to like a nursing home or food bank or, whoever wants the flowers. A lot of the pieces, like we'll invest in new vessels every single season for different weddings. So we have like a whole inventory of that. And then custom builds, unless we think we'll be able to use them again, we have to throw them away because they'll take up way too much space here.
Yeah.
So That's what happens to all the stuff.
That makes sense. That's what I thought you were going to say. And so you guys have rebranded and you're in a new huge warehouse. And what are most of the projects you're working on right now? Are they wedding related or are they corporate related?
We have a little bit of everything. We have a few very large weddings that we're working on. They take a lot of time. You know, there's one that we're working on in March we're customizing a brand new tent and we're taking over a lot. So it's going to be, I love these.
Is that one local or is that one destination?
That one's local. And then we have a few bar mitzvahs that are very cool. We have a bat mitzvah that's going to be a nice one in June. And just a few other corporate events sprinkled in. Nothing destination, so I am waiting for someone.
You're still waiting.
Italy.
Oh my God.
Italia.
We have a birthday party, but we don't know the location yet, so I'll keep you posted on that one.
Okay.
The best. Is it only events? What about like would you ever design a home?
People ask me that all the time, and I like designing my own home and my own spaces. I don't know, for me, there's something about doing an event and being very hyper focused on it and it having a solid end date that is just.
Oh, interesting. Gotcha.
I don't know that I can go on and on with a house.
Right. And they change. Everything changes. Your people's tastes change. It evolves. That makes a lot of sense to me. There's something definitive about okay, that project is complete and it like ended with a bang. It's amazing. We can move on to the next. That makes sense.
Exactly.
What's the best way for a bride to contact you?
I would say to email us. They could reach out on Instagram, or so many people have my cell phone. Like too many people have it, but like that.
Okay. Jeannie
our website. Oh, sorry.
That's okay. No, please. And what is your website?
So our website has not been rebranded yet. That's on my 2023 list. So it's still jgroupevents.com. And on that website, you can fill out a form with your contact information, get our email, and our office phone number.
Okay. And just in case somebody's listening to this in the far future and near future in 2023 and you have updated your website, what will that be?
It will be jessieandcocreative.com.
Jessie. And Jessie is spelled Jassi.
Yes.
ANDCO creative.com. Okay, great. Jeannie came up with such a great question. I love her questions. She's just wonderful. Thanks, Tosh. Go ahead, Jeannie.
I love to ask entrepreneurs if they have a favorite quote.
Just do it.
Just do it. Mm-hmm. Don't be afraid, right? Like, just do it.
Just do it.
It's so simple, but so true, because how often do we let our, things that we really like, our aspirations, we let things stop us because of the what ifs. Who cares, right? Like, just do it.
Yeah. Because when you're doing something, you're in it, and then you see that you were actually able to accomplish it. When you're thinking about it too much, it's
not going to happen. You're not going to get your feet wet. So true. Everybody out there that has a goal, something in mind, a business that they want to start, a talent that they want to explore, just do it.
It's true. I saw this video recently of this guy who so smartly, he went around and he was asking people of all different ages, how old are you? And he interviewed this woman. She was 75. And he said, if you could give your younger self some advice from your 75-year-old self, what would it be? And it was take risks. Just like you said, just do it. Stop thinking about it. Don't worry about setting up your life at a young age. Don't worry about the house and the family. You will get there. Live, travel, do it. Just make things happen for yourself. So that really resonated. Thank you so much. Is there anything else that you want to tell our listeners about their own wedding and planning an event? Any advice you want to give or any last bits of information?
I would say to approach your wedding planning and approach the entire process from a mindset of, what do I want to do? What would I do if there was no constraint? No one telling me their opinions, no budget constraints, just like exactly what I want. Then you can make that big vision, and there's so many steps that you can do to achieve most of that vision in a creative way throughout the process. But if you begin from a place of, I want to do low budget, or I'm nervous about my budget, or my mom has to approve, or it's going to confuse the beginning. And the most important thing is for you to be so clear on what you know is going to make you happy. And then you can come in with a clear vision. So I would just say that, understand what would make you so happy, and then start the process.
I'll take that into life too.
Yeah,
like
I
if
was
you
thinking
could,
that too.
If you could accomplish things in your life without any restrictions or limitations, what would those be? Like, what do you really, truly want at your core? And nobody's holding you back, and nothing is holding you back. What is it? So, love that. Thank you for that.
Because restrictions are going to happen. So, you don't want to cloud your vision. That's the thing. You will already walk into it leaving behind what you really wanted if you're not clear and honest with yourself. So that's beautiful advice that I will definitely take. And I hope that all of our brides and grooms listening will take that as well.
Thank you so much, Jessie.
Yes.
You're welcome. Did I do okay?
Thank you for listening to this episode of So You're Engaged, Now What? If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and rate us wherever you listen. It really helps us grow. If you'd like to reach out with any questions or suggestions, please email our team at podcast@livepicturestudios.com. This podcast is hosted by Jeannie Singari and Natasha Sherritt-Lacari. It is produced by Jeannie, Natasha, Nicole Palmetti, and Christiana Cremo. It has been edited by Crizel Paniquito and Nicole Palmetti. Artwork has been created by Joe Nunez, and music has been supplied by Ian Post and Artlist.io. And this podcast is brought to you by K-Vibe Studios. Until next time, bye and happy planning.